Hey guys, welcome to another video. Welcome to another watch video from just a random dude who likes talking about watches, which is what this channel's about really. So today I just wanted to make a quick video, actually a follow-up video to a video that I made last week. And last week, if you recall, I made a video about choosing your bezel click wisely, choosing your bezel action wisely. And that was just based around the fact that I've noticed throughout my diver's watch collection, all of my divers watch bezels have a different action. Some are much nicer than others. I showed you the dive bezel action on this Omega Planet Ocean 2208.50. I thought it was a little bit loose. I definitely wouldn't have gone diving if I did dive. I definitely wouldn't go diving with this bezel because I felt that it would be very easy to move out of place. And of course, when you're diving, when you're decompressing, as a lot of you divers have reminded me in the comments, you need to keep a very close eye on your timings, and I didn't feel that this bezel action was appropriate for that. Anyway, it kind of led to another conversation around really whether in the modern day divers watches are suitable to wear as an everyday watch, because a lot of us watch enthusiasts in particular, we love our dive watches, don't we? And so it got me thinking about, you know, apart from decompressing on your dive, which I think probably less than 0.1% of us out there with dive watches actually do, what else in the modern day, in the modern world that we live in, what else do you need to use your diver's watch for? And if we were to take I guess the word divers out of it, why would you, in the modern world, wish to carry on wearing a watch which was initially designed for divers? So I've come up with 10 reasons why the diver's watch, the diver's style watch, is still appropriate in the modern world. And reason number one why a diver's watch is still very appropriate in the modern world is we use our diver's bezel for cooking. So we use the timer functionality on our diver's watch to cook. And I don't know about anybody else. I mean, I cook a lot. I cook a lot in our household. I boil eggs. I need 10 minutes exactly when I'm boiling my eggs. If I pop the potatoes in the oven and I just want to give them half an hour, you know, to bake some potatoes, again, rather than set the timer or look at the clock and try and remember what the time is, I'll just quickly run my bezel into the right place and off I go. I'll wait half an hour later. I can tell exactly when my potatoes are going to be done. 10 minutes later, I can see exactly when my eggs are going to be boiled perfectly. So there's reason number one, guys, is cooking. Critical. Reason number two, and this will be a reason which is quite applicable to you guys that have got children out there, is you know, you get to bedtime, it's 8 o'clock, it's time for the kids to go to bed, and you know, you say to them, come on, off you go. And you know, what's the first reaction that you get is conjecture about whether it's actually bedtime or not, and you end up getting into a negotiation. I don't know if you do. I get into a negotiation with my children about what time is bedtime and how long they've got before they have to go to bed. And so you end up because we live in a democratic household here, we end up negotiating maybe a 10-minute or a 15-minute extension to the time for bed. And again, set your diver's bezel, guys. Your kids can't argue with you because you can't forget how long ago it was that you agreed the 15-minute or the 20-minute extension. Set your diver's bezel. So there's reason number two, guys, is for making sure that your kids don't take the mickey out of you when it comes to bedtime and you've granted an extension. Reason number three, now this would apply to most of us, I think, that work, is tea breaks and lunch breaks. Now, most of us that work these days, you know, we might have a set time when we're supposed to take a tea break or a lunch break at work, but how many of you out there actually end up taking your break, if you take a break at all? How many of you actually take your break when you're supposed to at your allotted time? You don't, do you? So you end up, you know, because you're very busy or you've got a meeting that overran or whatever, you end up thinking, right, I've still got to take this 20-minute break because if I don't, I'm going to frazzle. So again, guys, set the bezel on your diver's watch, you know, just it's sitting nicely under your shirt cuff, just pull it back, set your bezel. Okay, I'm going to take a 15-minute break now, and off you go. You can't forget, and if someone comes along to disturb you whilst you're taking your break, you can say, oh no, sorry, according to my diver's watch, I've got another 5 minutes of break to go yet before I can talk to you about work again. So there's reason number three, guys. It's to make sure that you actually get your 15-20 minute, half an hour break when you're at work. Reason number 4 is physical training. So I use my diver's bezel a lot for timing physical training. And what I mean by that is I kayak, I paddle. I've got a recreational kayak, and I spend a lot of time when I can out on the water kayaking. And I don't do it to fish. I don't go out there to kill fish. I go out there to enjoy spending time on my kayak on the water, enjoy the fish rather than try and eat them. And I also try and make my way to certain points, certain islands that might be out, say half an hour, 25 minutes out. And I tend to use my diver's bezel when I'm timing how quickly I can get to that island. And if I go to that island several times over several weeks, I actually try and keep a log of how quickly I'm getting to these different islands. So I use my diver's bezel for point-to-point measuring exercise and measuring duration of exercise. And I think this is quite common, you know, for those of you that might walk or run, and you time your point-to-point exercise to see how fast you're getting from point to point. This is the perfect time to set your diver's bezel and off you go. So physical training, guys, I think that's a critical reason to use a diver's watch in the modern day. 5 is probably a little bit more niche, depending on whether, like I do, I coach a junior football team. I coach my 11-year-old boys' junior football team. And so every Saturday and during the week, you know, we have training sessions where I time the exercises. I have pretty much a regimented routine that we go through, because kids at that age need routine as well. So I use my diver's bezel to time activities and to time training. And then, of course, if I'm refereeing the game, which I quite often am, then I use it to referee the game. And of course, all the parents are stood on the sidelines with their cell phones. You know, they didn't start the stopwatch on their cell phone because, of course, let's face it, that takes far too long to get your stopwatch going. So they're shouting from the sidelines, "Come on, ref! You know, that's the end of the half." And I'll say, "No, sorry, no, I've got a diver's watch here, and I set the bezel at kickoff, and I've still got 3 minutes of time to play. So forgive me. We'll carry on for the allotted time." And that's because I've used a proper timing technique, which is easy to set as well. They're a lot easier to set. It's very much easier to turn your bezel on your diver's watch than it is to get your phone out your pocket and find your stopwatch functionality and then start it. And then remember to keep an eye on it, of course, without accidentally turning it off. So that's reason number 5. Reason number 6, I think, also is for health checks. So if you wanted to check your pulse rate, for example, it's very easy to just count. You know, you can set your bezel. You can even set your bezel to the seconds hand as well, by the way. You don't have to set your bezel to the minute hand. You can set it to the seconds hand. And potentially, you know, if you just want to quickly check your pulse rate, for example, when you're exercising, that's when you can use your diver's bezel. Again, it's still quicker to use a diver's bezel on a watch than it is to set your phone, to do it on your phone. So that's reason number 6. Reason number 7, and this is kind of getting away from just the reason to have a diver's bezel on your watch, instead of, say, a dress watch, for example. So they're the 6 reasons to have a diver's bezel on your watch. Reason number 7 is actually just the durability and the build quality of diver's watches. The diver's watches, a good one, will have a screw down crown, of course. So having a screw down crown obviously prevents moisture ingress. So let's say, for example, when are you going to need to have the resistance to water? Not just when you're diving or swimming, for example, but let's say you jump in the shower every morning, you know, before you sort of get up to go to work. You jump in the shower, and you can keep your watch on in the shower. It's great. You can actually clean your watch whilst you're in the shower as well with a dive watch. I wouldn't recommend taking a watch into a shower, by the way, that hasn't got a screw down crown. Thoroughly don't recommend it. I know a lot of people do, and it's been fine, but I wouldn't recommend it, is all I'm saying. So having a screw down crown like you do on a diver's watch enables you to get the watch wet. Not just in the shower or the bath, maybe after your exercise. You know, you just need to jump in the shower quickly. You don't have to take the watch off. You can leave it on. You don't have to worry about it getting stolen if you leave it on. Like if you leave your phone in the changing room at the gym, you may worry that somebody's going to rummage through your bag and steal your things. Well, you don't have to worry about that with a diver's watch, because you can just leave it on your wrist and get it as wet as you like. So there's a practicality side to having a watch that's got a great deal of water resistance. And likewise, if you're into sports where you may get wet, like fishing, for example, I use a dive watch when I go kayaking. I wear a dive watch. Maybe if you're into surfing, you know, water sports where you're not necessarily getting immersed in the water constantly, but there's a good chance that you might get wet. That's when a diver's watch is going to keep you out of trouble. And you won't have to worry about, worrying about what the time is when you're surfing a big wave and trying to pull your phone out of your pocket, or, take a quick look at your smart watch where you've got to tap the screen to see what the time is. You've just got this watch on all the time telling you what the time is. So there's another practical reason, really. That's reason number 7, is the durability and the robustness. And it kind of leads on to reason number 8, which is the fact that because they're so robust and durable, you can pretty much wear them in, I think, pretty much wear them in any activity. For example, tradespeople might want to wear a dive watch, not only to time their breaks, because let's face it, especially with tradespeople, they need to make sure that they're taking their breaks and taking the exact allotted time for their breaks as well. You don't want the union guys getting unhappy, do you, that you haven't been taking your breaks, or worse still, that you're taking much longer breaks than you should. You don't want to upset anybody. So in certain jobs, it really pays to have a more robust watch, and you don't get much more robust than a diver's watch. And I'm thinking like tradespeople type jobs, where you're using your hands a lot, and the watch might pick up a few scratches and a few bashes, but it's got the sapphire glass, guys, so you don't really need to worry about cracking it, do you? I don't think I've ever heard of anybody cracking their watch whilst they've been working. Reason number 9, and this is quite an important one. It kind of goes under the radar a little bit. Reason number 9 is it means when you've got a watch like this is that you don't need multiple watches. You don't need, once you've got a watch that covers everything, particularly if you've got a pretty one. Particularly if you've got a watch which kind of is a dive watch and it has all the specifications of a dive watch, but it's a nice looking watch as well, and it's a watch that you don't mind wearing to work, or you can get away with wearing it to work, then you've got a watch which means that you don't have to buy any other watches. So you don't need to worry about a dress watch. You don't need to worry about a pretty watch that you can wear, for a night out with your wife. You don't need to worry about a G-Shock, for example, that beta watch, because you've got a watch that can take all the knocks and the stains and the scratches and the water immersion. But you've also got a watch that's pretty enough that you can actually wear to a meeting at work, or out with your wife for dinner, or your husband for dinner. So I think I guess the fact that it's very utilitarian, a dive watch, it means that you don't have to go spending a fortune on other watches. You've got that one whole area covered in one base. And finally, guys, reason number 10 why I think a dive watch works really well in the modern world, probably even more practical in the modern world now than it is even for diving, I might add. Whereas I think most divers these days don't even wear a dive watch because they've got far more reliable ways of measuring their decompression. But reason number 10 is these watches, let's be honest, the competition to these watches nowadays is a smartwatch. And I just find smartwatches, although they're fantastic, they're a bit of an unnecessary gimmick. And the thing that really concerns me, and I've seen this in life, and I've seen this in a lot of social environments, is quite often I find when I'm talking to somebody, all of a sudden, we'll be making eye-to-eye contact and talking about something in great depth, and all of a sudden, I can hear this little buzz on their wrist, and they suddenly stop talking to me, stop looking at me, and they start looking at their watch. And I just find that the rudest thing I've ever seen. You're talking away to somebody, and all of a sudden they've decided that whatever's going on their watch is suddenly far more important than whatever it is you're talking about. So what I'm saying here, guys, is that in the modern world, I think smart watches and devices are distracting people from conversations that they might even be having with their own boss at work. And there's nothing more rude or offensive than somebody basically telling you that their smartwatch is more important to talk to than you are. So reason number 10, guys, this is the final reason. I'm sure there are many, and I'm sure there are reasons that you guys can think of now. But reason number 10 for me, why a diver's watch is the perfect watch for the modern world, is reason number 10 is they don't distract you from all of the other things that are going on in the world. They don't take you away from the moment. They don't take you away from the conversation that you might be having with somebody. And there you go, guys. That's reason number 10. And they're the 10 reasons that I could come up with for why divers' watches are perfect modern world tools. And if you've got any more ideas or any more comments about my ideas, then please do leave them in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Cheers, guys.